This is my Pugloaf. He is my creation, essentially the perfect dog. He is bread loaf shaped. He has his little pug face. He does not poop. He does not pee. And I don't have to walk him. And you'll see he even has a little box in there so he can breathe and has a little heartbeat. So I'm going to show you how I made this Pugloaf, because you probably want to know how this abomination came into existence. This is Georgie, a dog I babysat for a week. It got me thinking about buying a dog. But behold, the perfect dog, which I found in this Photoshop. His little adorable face, his absolutely useless legs, and his beautiful bread-shaped body. So I popped that Pugloaf image into Rodent AI, which allowed me to make this 3D model basically instantly from a single image, which I found phenomenal. This is an amazing output, but it definitely wasn't perfect. Its little nose was screwed up. There were details in the face, like the brow was kind of separate from the rest of the body, which looked strange. So I started to touch things up. I flattened out the nose because the nose was kind of irrecoverable. And slowly I modeled everything so it actually looked a lot more pug-like, a lot more like this reference image I have on the left side. I could have modeled this myself, but Rodent AI probably saved me a week. Using that model, I started making my molds. So this is the 3D print of the male mold. This is the female part of the mold, and I'm taping two halves together because I couldn't print it all in one piece on the printer because it's just a little bit too big. Luckily enough that the silicone will be held in by just taping the sides. Like, I didn't have to glue the two sides together, especially since I was going to be pulling them apart later on. I didn't want to do that. I'm using tongue depressors and paint sticks to suspend the male part of the mold and the female part of the mold. I'm pouring silicone for the pug's muzzle. It's pigmented black, and I'm pouring it separate from the skin tone. Looks like venom on the little pug's face. Once the silicone had cured, I started to cut away material, slowly but surely removing little bits of it so that I didn't mess it up and have to re-pour the whole thing again. And eventually I had the muzzle shape of a pug dog. Now I'm adding pigment to the silicone, something I've never tried before. Nothing happened. Well, actually I should stab the top so that it has an air hole. Yeah, there it goes. Doot, 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 doot. So you don't want to put too much in because it can disturb the process of setting. It won't set otherwise. Okay, we'll see if that mixes better. Oh my god, that's so much better. Look at that. Now it's starting to look like skin. Now it was time to see how the flesh tone pour of the silicone was gonna go. The pour started off really smoothly, but yeah, go get in there. Okay, I'm gonna keep pouring. Keep holding it. I'm gonna keep pouring. What was happening was essentially the male mold was starting to float on top of the silicone. The print itself was done at like 10% infill, which means it's 90% air inside it. And that meant that it was very, very buoyant on top of this liquid and was giving us all these issues with it rising up too quickly. Blue tape's so easy to cut. Yes. Now it's fighting me in every mold making endeavor. There's always some event like this where you're like, I'm gonna get better at mold making, but not right now. Okay. All right, I think you can let go.
No.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah, it'll be okay. All right.
That's acceptable?
It's working.
Good.
Yeah, we're gonna do a little bit more right here. But it was not working, and as I added more fluid, it started to float more and more. After trying to hold it down with a jug of milk, we eventually realized that we could use a container of water and slowly fill that up to the right amount. And now came the demolding process, which, like a fool, I thought was going to be easy. This is the part where I thought I'd just apply some pressure to it and the two halves would just come apart easily. Or maybe pliers were going to work really well. Ah! I stabbed it! My brother tried to help me, but it was to no avail. And finally, I was able to get my hand in between the silicone and the male mold and slowly delaminate the one surface from the other. So I was pushing the silicone away as I was inching down towards the bottom of it. And that successfully separated enough that I could eventually pry the two pieces apart. And it worked. And of course, really what I should have done in the first place was use a healthy dose of mold release, which I skipped. Oh. Ta-da! That's one side. Look at this little butt sticking out. It looks really good. Now that I had done one half, the other half was going to be super easy and require no effort at all. And not require like hours of struggle. Oh my god. There it is. Little face. I was beyond satisfied and exhausted. With the pug skin done, it was on to trying to do the hair. This is the tattoo gun I modified to carry a needle so I could do hole punching. So if we look down through this window, we can see the 3D printed holder for the needle itself. That is glued in. And then you can see the hole punching needle is basically that it is a pitchfork, basically. So that little pitchfork shoves the hair, catches the hair and shoves the hair in. So there's a spring here that causes the oscillating motion to return, so that if it pushes forward, the spring pushes back and it can oscillate. So I can demo what that's like. We have a speed controller here, and that's the rate of oscillation. And then when we click, we get an oscillating motor. This tattoo gun modification didn't work because it didn't have a deep enough stroke to push the hair all the way into the silicone. This is a jigsaw from Harbor Freight along with a 3D printed bracket and the fixture for holding the needle. Yeah, what happens is this needle oscillates back and forth. We can have two slots. One, if this plate is at an angle or if it's flat. I used it at an angle a lot because I want the hair to come in at a more natural direction. When hair just sticks straight out, it tends to look odd. If we look at ejecting this, there we go. This is an imitation of the shank that normally rests inside the saw. What I've done is just taken the equivalent and use that to fix it into the saw itself. And then this is just super glued into place. I tested things out to see if it would immediately break. Trial 1. Oh, it did! It did! Yeah! It did it, but now it looks like hair plugs.
Just 6 to 8.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
now that I had a viable mechanism for putting the hair in, I needed to work on the eyes and carve out little cavities because I hadn't done that in the 3D modeling. And it feels so weird to carve into the face of some cute little animal that you've been working on for so long. So like, yeah, it was like doing surgery at the vet or something. It felt really weird. The minute I put eyes in, it looked totally real. It was very, very surreal. Now it was finally the moment where I was going to do the hair punching. And the hair punching is basically you'll put hair over, and normally you'd do it manually, but in this case I'm doing it with a saw. And the punching saw came out amazingly well. I would essentially lay down a strip of hair, and then I would end up with a line of hair that was punched in. And then I'd comb away the excess, the stuff that hadn't caught, and just keep doing it over and over again. I'm going around the circumference of the Pugloaf in order to apply the fawn-colored hair, which is more like the natural hair of the Pugloaf. I ended up having to use two types of fur. One is the fawn-colored fur, which is a type of hair that is meant to look like fur, and then the more auburn golden fur on top ended up being fur from a wig, which is like, it was a cheap wig, so it's fairly stiff fur, and that's why that hair sticks up so much.
I'm so beautiful. It's Pug Jovi.
Now that all his hair was in, it was just a matter of cutting it, and that was pretty nerve-wracking because I didn't know quite how short the hair should be, and so I just cut it down layer by layer and got it so that I could see how much more hair I was going to have to put in. And then slowly I realized that I was not happy with this at all. It was just too mangy looking, the patches were too big, and the amount of work that I was going to have to do to repair all that would have been really dramatic and time consuming. So I opted to take out all of the hair.
Cool.
I've written stories where I've written a draft and then another draft, and you end up cutting a lot of the old draft away. This was like the physical version of revising a draft. This is a patch of hair I am taping up in order to use a technique called fur transfer. And first I cut off the back, and then I apply the silicone to the model and wrap the fur onto the silicone so that it can then cure directly onto the Pugloaf. I've never used this technique before, so I thought that the hair was going to kind of stick to the silicone like glue does, but then I quickly realized I was going to need to tape it down in order to have the hair affixed to the silicone and actually cure in an attached way. I had no idea if this was even going to work, so I was pretty nerve-wracked when I was taking the tape off in order to see if the hair had actually cured onto the pug. And behold, he was beautiful.
I'm so beautiful.
He looks like he's going really fast. So it was time to trim this little guy's hair down and see if it actually looked any good. And luckily the coverage that basically like hairs per inch ended up looking great. Now it came time to apply the fawn colored fur. So I masked off the eyes and applied it all in one go around the whole exterior of the Pugloaf. Luckily, the fur attached really well, so all I had to do was comb it up and give it a trim. This was a nerve-wracking part too, because I wasn't sure whether the trimmer was going to make the hair look good as it came close to the skin. But the details of his face really did start to emerge as I clipped it shorter and shorter. I had forgotten about his nails, but I 3D printed some and applied them to his little paws. And it's amazing how little details like this really make a thing look real. The next step was placing the electronics inside our little Pugloaf so that he could breathe and have a heartbeat. These electronics are from a toy that is for dogs that have separation anxiety. So it has a little heartbeat, a little breathing apparatus like this piston that moves it in and out, and then also a heat pad that warms up. So that helps dogs that get nervous when their owners are gone. So I pulled that out of one of those toys and put it in my little Pugloaf. So we have his breathing button. You can see the little piston going. And there's a little heartbeat button. So that's the story of my Pugloaf. I would appreciate any suggestions for a name for him in the comments. And if you would like to support me on Patreon, please click on the link in the description. And I would appreciate all the likes you can give. And yeah, make sure to be easy on yourself. For only 5 cents a day, you too can support a Pugloaf. He has little flies on his face.